Let's meet today's rock star, Dan Bukiewicz, president of Milwaukee Building Trades and the mayor of the city of Oak Creek, Wisconsin. Dan began his career as an apprentice with IBEW Local 494 in 1987 and has over 30 years of experience in the building trades. He rose through the ranks from field electrician to service department manager before becoming a business representative for Local 494. Since 2014, he has led the Milwaukee Building Trades, representing 15,000 tradespeople and overseeing $2 billion in project labor agreements. In addition to his union leadership, Dan is serving his third term as mayor of Oak Creek, one of the fastest growing cities in southeastern Wisconsin. Dan also serves on numerous boards and committees dedicated to workforce development, education, infrastructure, and economic growth. Born and raised in Milwaukee, Dan is a proud public school graduate, a devoted husband to Carolyn, and a father of 2 adult children. So thank you so much, Dan, for being here. We're so happy to have you here on the show.
Thank you for having me, Allison. It's quite an honor. I appreciate it.
No, absolutely. We're so excited for our viewers to understand more about the Milwaukee Building Trades, your apprenticeship readiness program, and all the work that you do to help people transition into the trades. I love to give our viewers a little history into the Milwaukee Building Trades. Originally chartered in 1910, the Milwaukee Building and Construction Trades Council, AFL-CIO, is still dedicated to the same set of core values and practices. Even in the infancy of the organization, they recognize the need to integrate themselves into the community and focus not only on bread and butter unionism, but to encompass a broad spectrum of economic and social objectives. So how has it been working for the Milwaukee Building Trades? It sounds to me like it's a very gratifying environment.
It's very gratifying, very challenging, and it changes day to day. As you said, we do a wide range of things. First and foremost, we're promoting union construction and careers in them. Secondly, we're committed to benefiting the communities at large that we serve. So we're trying to get communities in need, underserved communities, opportunities to move into the middle class through a trades apprenticeship.
That makes a lot of sense. In the Milwaukee area specifically, are there unique challenges that you tend to see participants face?
Very much so. Milwaukee has a deep, rich history of immigration here, and it was primarily a German-Polish community at the turn of the century when the building trades was formed. And apprenticeship followed right with it from Europe. Very strong apprenticeship programs here. They were literally started in Wisconsin, apprenticeship programs. So it follows suit as we see a new wave of immigrants come in. Hispanics and African Americans made migrations up here from the South for a lot of manufacturing and machine type work jobs. The city kind of segregated more or less. You kind of went to where the work was in machine shops, and the breweries kind of settled on the north side, and a heavy African-American population settled there. So as those jobs were lost here in Milwaukee, shipped out, we've seen major manufacturers such as Master Lock, A.O. Smith. We've seen a decline in the breweries. The African-American community is looking more and more for ways to support their family and enter into new careers because it's very generational here. If your father worked in a factory, you probably followed. It was just the way it was, and the trades worked the same way. So we primarily target those neighborhoods within project labor agreements to carve out for them, to make sure that city residency, that minority participation is taken into account in these agreements. And we're able to do that. We're able to get into the communities and spread the word about the opportunities that exist through registered apprenticeship in the trades. Probably one of the most important things about it is really changing lives. Most people don't know about the trades unless you've been connected to it. Seems to be some big mystery about how you get in, and you got to know somebody, and people hear the word union and they think it's some kind of special club, when in reality, it's really the definition of what democracy is. All members vote on raises, on money spent, and leadership. So it's really educating these folks, and with that education comes great opportunity. Usually leads them to a higher income level and a different spot in the economic hierarchy of this country.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and the aspect about it being generational, so how often do you see in your apprenticeship readiness program, how often is it that a participant comes in, without, maybe a parent or a grandparent or an uncle or someone that was in the trades before? Is it more often than not?
Years ago, like when I got in the early 80s, my father was actually a plasterer. Uh, and his grandparents immigrated here. He was a third generation plasterer. I thought I'd be a fourth generation plasterer. I turned out to be an electrician. But I was in that construction world. I knew of it. It was talked about in our family. It was built into the fabric of who we are. Um, I'm happy to say more and more are first generation tradespeople coming in here in Milwaukee, and it's really due to the efforts of the men and women of the Milwaukee Building Trades that are out there educating in the high schools, the junior highs, the career fairs, you name it. We get the opportunity, and we're out there, and we're spreading the word that there's a place for you within the union trades.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and I can't wait to hear more about your specific program. So what does your apprenticeship readiness program and the intake process look like?
That's a great question because we're very unique here in Milwaukee. As you said earlier, usually it was word of mouth through family members, your uncle, your dad, your cousin. Somebody worked in trades and told you along the way at a family gathering, and you thought, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. Those days have kind of passed. We're out there educating folks, is what it is. But what we found is without that background of the family of understanding how trades work, because they're not like a 9 to 5 job that you go to a office or a factory in, we found that we needed readiness training. And we do it through our multi-core curriculum. We call it the MC3, and that's a NAB2 program agreed upon by all the general presidents of the basics we want to see for apprenticeship readiness to take the entrance test. 50 years ago, the Milwaukee Building Trades, very innovative, my predecessors, decided to fund it through collective bargaining. Every hour worked by a journey person or apprentice, few cents would go in to an organization called the Wisconsin Regional Training Partnership. We call it WRTP Big Step. And what Big Step does is it takes our MC3 curriculum, has full-time instructors and recruiters, and goes out and teaches that 120 hours worth of curriculum. They then get a letter of introduction or are prepared to take their entrance test. And we're finding the results are amazing over the top. We have better prepared apprentices. They have formal education. They have a far better understanding of what the trades are like, of how you go to school during the day or at night. Now it's paid on the job training, where the benefits are, union histories involved, technical math, and it just works wonders. And it's a third party. So it allows us to go out there and further organize and recruit and work on project labor agreements and collective bargaining agreements and making sure that our workers are in a safe environment and do all the things that are essential to on time, on budget projects.
So would you say that, based upon how, prepared and marketable these participants are when they graduate, would you say that placement rate is pretty high in Milwaukee? It sounds to me like it is based upon the way you all are structuring
It 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 it
your
really
program.
is. We place them, they hit a list, and as they go through the MC3, they realize that there's 21 different crafts to take part in from 15 different unions, from drywall to plumbing to sprinkler fitting to insulation, electrical plumbing. Usually on TV, most people are depicted, the typical trades, plumber, electrician, carpenter. But there's so many more opportunities out there to be a cement mason, a plasterer, and tile setter. Um, and people learn this. And more importantly, they learn where the opportunities exist based upon their needs. If somebody's dream is to become a plumber, that's wonderful. Stick to your dream, but the process may take a little longer, say, than becoming a roofer or becoming a glazer or something along those lines. So we really educate them up. The other thing we do is we work very closely with the community and our elected officials to say, to make this work, we need your support too. So we've come up with it's basically an ordinance here in the city of Milwaukee, and it's called RPP. It's the Residence Preference Program. And what that does is if a
Mm,
project's being done in the city of Milwaukee and there are taxpayer monies involved at over $1 million, automatically that job needs to be manned with 40% city residents. So
mhm.
Milwaukee is a community of just under 500,000 people. It's quite a lot of people, but if you take up the suburbs, we're almost 1.25 million if you take all of Milwaukee County. Of course, if you live in the suburbs, you don't qualify for that program, but that's okay because the highest unemployment rate uh, for African American males in the country is right here in the city of Milwaukee. And these are the folks we're looking to help to get up on that economic ladder and move to another level. So this RPP is essential. And what we do at WRTP Big Step is we get the we do the certifications. We ensure they live where they're supposed to, that they have the safety, they have the 120 hours, that they are ready and willing and able to go to work. Then we have a pipeline of folks. So when we get a skyscraper, recently the Fiserv Arena, the basketball arena was built here, then we tap that pipeline for entry points. We also put in apprenticeship ratios to the greatest degree we can because that helps ensure entry level people come in. And then our contractors have a pool of people to pick from to meet those demands of the contracts they signed with the city. So, nobody gets anything done together, I believe, largely in partnerships between the unions, elected officials, city ordinances, and our contractor base. And I'm really proud to say we're making a difference here in Milwaukee. We always hit those marks, and it's just so gratifying to see these young people come in and start their career on one of these jobs and see them 5 years later and go, man, if it wasn't for that job and those criteria set forward in those agreements, I don't know where I'd be.
No, I can only imagine, and it sounds to me like that the RPP in tandem with the project labor agreements is really setting up the stage for, those transitions to be successful, and I think that's really a big key too, is making sure that once, participants are done with their apprenticeship, with their getting their MC3 certificate, that they have somewhere to land, and it sounds to me like you all have done an excellent job of making sure that that percentage of that possibility is very high.
It very much is, and it's not just a set it and forget it type program. We look at that ordinance and we look at zip codes targeted, and we will advise the elected officials to say maybe modify your ordinance. And if you have a high unemployment need in a particular zip code in the city of Milwaukee, emphasize that and put more value to that person. Maybe put an hour and a half worth of time to them for every hour worked. Then the contractor begins to see real value in the person. In what we really want positive outcomes. I mean, we all want high numbers and everything. What we want is the quality on finishing. So we
Mhm.
conduct tutoring programs at Big Step as well. Once the person's in, if they need brush up, we can tutor them. If they're not prepared, maybe they did not complete high school. We also run high school equivalency programs connected with the MC3, which is really unique for a building trades council to do. So in conjunction at Big Step, you can earn your high school equivalency while taking the MC3 too. Very unique. Just this year, we started classes for ELS. As I said, we have a high influx of Hispanic workers in the city of Milwaukee, and sometimes we find they're great workers, but sometimes they're language barriers. We started English language skills classes that we put on in 6-week intervals. And, we emphasize first on the safety and then the understanding of financial literacy, the understanding of what's expected on the jobs, and of course, communication. And our members just love it. I don't know of any other council in the country that's putting on ELS classes. I would imagine there's others in California, but for us, it's really a unique departure, and I like to see that because it shows the openness to diversity that this council's showing.
Absolutely, and all just the level of support that these participants are receiving to really elevate their lives to, you know, to create a better life, not only for themselves, but for the generations that are coming after them. I can imagine that maybe for some, they might be the first person in their family to have, this pathway into like a very fiscally sound, you know, satisfying, fulfilling career. So, you all are really changing lives by like creating as many support systems and ways to break barriers to make sure that this is actually possible. Because, for some, I think that, when there is a language barrier or if there's like, a transportation barrier or, the myriad of things that can happen that can be discouraging for someone, that can be that can be the thing that someone's like, well, you know what, I'm just not going to do this. So I think that taking that in mind and creating as many ways to ensure that the barriers are minimal. It sounds to me like you all are doing a tremendous job doing that.
No, you're correct. It's spread. This wasn't our first endeavor. Years ago, I'd go to building trades conferences, and I noticed we really had a lack of female representation here in the trades. We had a really dynamic leader on our council. She's actually a business manager now, by the name of Kyla Engelke. And Kyla was a delegate to my council. And I was out at a building trades conference one year, and I said, we have to start a female group here in Milwaukee. So I said to her, we're going to carve out some money from the budget, get you going. She said, great. She snatched the keys to the building and took the money and never looked back and made it into a statewide force. It's called Empower. And they're a key partner to the building trades. They're their own entity now. They moved on and became their own 503C. Um, but we were a daycare pilot program for NAB2, and we ran it through the Empower Group. And it was targeted at apprentices, particularly female apprentices, but it was open to males as well, and journey folks, and single parents, and just people with childcare needs, because it's really a need. And we ran that program very successfully as a pilot for about 3 years. Just came to an end, and now we're looking at bridge funding until we can start to get some funding through collective bargaining to keep it up. I couldn't be prouder of that group, but they act as mentors for us. So at career fairs, we'll have a booth, and Big Step will be on the other side of us. Empower will be on the other side to help recruit females in, and more importantly, mentor them and make sure that their journey lands them in first of all, their registered apprenticeship lands them as a journey worker in the future. And I'm proud to say they're doing a great job. Their mentorship's been key for a lot of ladies in the trades.
Mm, mm. No, I can imagine that. Empower is definitely a tremendous program. I've had some interactions with the team there, working with Trades Futures, and that and I've highlighted quite a few of the recipients of some of that care, and it has been, there's been some men in there too. There's been some men in there too that
Yes,
have
for
had some
sure.
child care. Yeah,
I myself was
yeah.
a single parent, so it was particularly, I had family that helped me through back in the day. But it would have been a make or break um, to really stay steadily employed. Your children come first. Your family has to come first, and I'm passionate about it. I'm just so thankful that we had Empower to help lead the way with this. And I just met with them yesterday because we're coming up on a very large project at a power plant. And the ask is going to be on this project. We're going to go project specific and try to get some money for the daycare to keep it going here in Milwaukee, because we believe in it that passionately that eventually it should be in collective bargaining between our contractors and unions.
No, I couldn't agree more because that really is a choke point. Not just in the trades. I just find like it's a choke point in general. Like childcare is very costly. And
Yes.
obviously, you want to entrust your child with with the best care possible. You're not just going to just leave them anywhere. So it's definitely something that I think can be very stressful for a lot of parents. And I think another common theme that I keep hearing come up as we're talking is just this real fostering of community that I think you find within the building trades and within the apprenticeship readiness programs specifically. No one's an island, and I feel like the support is palpable. That the people that are working, you working within these programs, the people that are working within these programs to see participants succeed. Like there's a true support system here. There's a true community here. And I think that makes a world of difference, regardless of what path someone goes down, knowing that there are people around them that believe in them and believe in their journey and are willing to help and are willing to have their back. Like that just makes a world of difference. That might not have been everyone's background depending on, you know, if they've come from a impoverished community, let's say, that it might have been more of a survival, honestly. Um, so that's something that I'm just hearing, like, coming up in something that I'm noticing, and it's something that I've seen, I would say, just across the unionized building trades in general. This is true community. This is very different than working, like, in other fields per se.
It very much is, and the building
Mhm,
trades here, to give you an idea of how tight we stick. Every week
mhm,
our organizers meet on a Tuesday. Every Thursday our reps meet, and our managers once a month we have in. Um, and sometimes they'll be like, "Well, do we need to meet every week?" It actually fosters a brotherhood, sisterhood. You get to know people more personably than if you come in once a month and you sit down and everybody sits in groups, and the camaraderie around my table is great. And if somebody really needs a hand, we can still disagree over some jurisdictional stuff here and
mhm,
there, but for the most part we stick together. So when there's a push on a project and I call and I go, I need 20 people down here, this is what I need, and everybody gets their turn. So we just had a press conference this week to support a project, and the person we needed was a young Hispanic man who grew up on the South Side, has since moved to the North Side. Um, and he was the guy for the day. They said to me, "Do you going to speak?" I said, "No, I got somebody else." So we always have that right person in. Um,
mhm.
if we have to, if it's a female, if it's an African American, we always have an abundance of who should go, and that's what I foster in these guys. You get more done together than trying to
Mhm.
do everything yourself. No building goes up with just one trade.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that. I really do. I really, really do. Okay, so in the similar vein of, creating this network of support for participants, what wraparound services do you offer to support participants in your program?
Well, we touched on them briefly with daycare supplements and trying to get that in. The high school equivalency. We also have the programs for the ELS. We're also working on with folks trying to make sure that they get driver's license going forward. And although we're not responsible for that, nor is it required, realistically, you need it. You can't rely on the bus to get you everywhere. So we're working with different agencies if they can fund these programs for our candidates. And what we'll typically do is if we can do a fundraiser, get together, motorcycle ride, car show, you name it, we may donate to these folks and say, can you help us out then and take some candidates in and help them obtain their driver's license and get straight to where they need to be. Reentry folks. We'll meet probably quarterly with our contractors, particularly those that have prefab shops, and find out where they're at and see if we can't work with the reentry community to help these folks establish themselves and get back on their feet. Uh, it's very difficult. I'm not an expert on reentry, but people need a chance, and these wraparound services provide that opportunity. And we've had some pretty good success with some contractors that have been willing to do it. Um, so we encourage our members to sit on a lot of social boards, community service boards. There's a little suburb called Bayview Community Center, and it's in a large Hispanic community, and they're looking for some people to sit on their boards of directors. And I know the director of it, and I recommend it for people off my council that may want to serve there. Um, it may be just advice on building maintenance, things like that. But more importantly, as our members come in and need services, maybe it's lay over. Maybe they're laid off and they need to go to a food pantry or anything of that nature. We want to be as educated as we are to be able to provide those wraparound services. Throughout the year, we probably don't pat ourselves on the back. So there's an organization here in Milwaukee called the Maida House, and the Maida House is a wonderful place. It takes in women that may be going through addiction or alcoholism or abuse, and it gives them a place to go with their families where they can go and rehabilitate, heal, and get on their feet. We have a program called Heat for the Holidays we've been running for a number of years, and the locals step up and we fundraise, and we take care of their heat and electric bills for 3 months. At Christmas time, we'll donate up to $15,000 to them that we've raised throughout the year. We've done it with veterans organizations as well. Dry Hooch, it's one of them that comes to mind. Guys like to ride their motorcycles. A lot of camaraderie here, and we say, hey, let's ride and raise some money and then give it to Dry Hooch. And Dry Hooch is a safe place where veterans that fight some addiction problems can go and enjoy coffee, kind of socialize almost like a union hall. So
Mhm.
we're pretty proud of some of the wraparound services we've done. We broker partnerships with local boot companies here in Wisconsin to provide discount boots to the candidates, or and then resold the old ones and give them to those in need. Uh,
Mhm.
we have a group here at the Building Trades as well. This year, they're gathering up garments that would normally be given out to Goodwill and what have you, and basically they're going to give them to families to have a community rummage sale with all proceeds going to families in need. So, by the same token, we're encouraging people to donate the goods and then also go back and
Mhm.
kind of buy the goods. It's kind of funny, but it's first time they're trying this, and I'm proud of it because they're thinking out of the box, and more importantly, they're not thinking about themselves; they're thinking of others, and at the heart of it, that's what unionism is.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds to me like, what you all are doing spans so much further than just um, the MC3 and apprenticeship readiness. It's really setting up the stage for individuals to create a well-rounded, better life. And so I applaud you. I mean, everything you're saying is just tremendous. This is really, really a beautiful thing. How do your partnerships with other organizations and labor agreements support recruitment for your apprenticeship readiness programs?
They're really key, Allison. I have a saying that if it ain't in writing, it may not happen. So we always like to be on the same page of where we're going to be. So as we're doing these projects, as I said, we will write a project labor agreement. And NABTO will have us put in certain boilerplate things they need on subcontracting and strike language and helmets to hard hats and you name it. That's always in there. But then we try to go above and beyond and work with the contractor and say, let's make a difference with the project. Let's shoot for participation of 7% women. Let's shoot for 5% veteran. Let's try to hit 25. Just today we were talking go out project where 15% of all man hours would be with apprentices in registered apprenticeship. So, in some cases, we'll have NMAs going on and we'll be like, oh, geez, what can we do to enhance recruitment through it? So can we bulk up and can we share the load, say, um, with trades through um, composite crews to help hit those numbers because there's greater opportunity in one trade to another, and there's plenty of work to go around in material handling or driving a telehandler, things of that nature. So it's imperative that we really look at things in a partnership way, and more importantly,
Mhm.
where we can make a difference and better the industry. Um,
Mhm.
our contractors, they want they want trained individuals, and I always equate it to this: if you open up a can of Coca-Cola, you have an expectation of what that taste is going to be. But if you go
Mhm.
buy a generic brand soda and you open up a cola, you don't know what you're getting. Might be good, might be bad, might be the same.
Mhm.
That's what the non-union training is. We have that standard set. We have a
Mm.
base minimum, and we're gonna have guys that far exceed it, but you know right off the top, safety, qualifications, knowledge, trained in the same way, whether you were trained in Baltimore, Atlanta, Milwaukee, LA, you're gonna have that level of consistency. We need those partnerships in there, and that's why we have to put in there that we need our pipelines filled as well as our registered apprenticeships filled. Um, for example, I brought up that power plant project.
Mhm.
Partnership WRTP is basically funded through collective bargaining with set amounts from both labor and management paying into that. Inflation has risen the cost of that. We move that per cap number very slowly, and sometimes we don't year to year. So as we get a project where we can take advantage of it, we will say to the management, let's every hour work put a few cents in to enhance our training, enhance our safety, enhance our recruitment. And then it goes into a fund where it's monitored and jointly agreed upon how it should be spent to enhance that recruitment and apprenticeship.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I can see how these partnerships are so pivotal to ensuring that participants are able to make these transitions smoothly and have the work readily available for them when they're done with the program. And it sounds to me like you all have all the bases covered in that regard. Thank you so much for being here today. I feel like I've learned so much about your program, and I think our viewers will too. So most gratifying aspect of the work.
You know, for me personally, I've been blessed. I've had a great career. I came up through registered apprenticeship. Was kind of in my bio, worked my way up through journey person, and here I wound up leading just in some incredible trade people. It's led me. I'm also a mayor. Never would have been possible without my registered apprenticeship and the whole thing. But at this stage of my life, the most gratifying thing and the most gratifying thing in this job is when you help somebody into the trades and they come up to you years later and go, "Thank you. You changed my you changed my stars. You just changed a projection of where I was headed." Just recently, the roof leaked here in my building in January of all times. Between Christmas and New Year's, it was raining in the office behind me. And the roofers came out, patched me up, and I said, "When you get to me in spring, come help." Roofers Local 65 here, and waterproofers came in. They brought their apprenticeship class in December, third week of January, as cold as it could be. They came in here and I had coffee and donuts for them at break time and pizza and everything. And one of the apprentices was there and we were sitting there having a cup of coffee and he looked at me and he goes, "Oh, you're really familiar." And I said, "Well, I'm the head of the building trades," which really didn't mean nothing to him. He's a second year apprentice and the whole thing. And he turned and one of the guys said, "Well, you know, he's like the mayor of Oak Creek." And the kid goes, "Oh, I grew up in Oak Creek. He went through a program called Knights Construction, which is a high school program that the building trades here in Milwaukee helped foster, but it was in the city of Oak Creek where I'm the mayor. And I helped convince the school board down there to go ahead and what they actually do is buy a lot and build a home. And our signatory contractors played a role in that because they were contracted to do it. But our JACs would also go out and instruct in roofing and things like that. And the kid said to me, he goes, "That program saved my life." He was a kid goofing up in school, doing the wrong things. He's like, "Man, I caught on to that. You sent the roofers down, and the roofers volunteered their time and showed the kids how to shingle." And he was a kid. He's like, "I knew, electrician, plumbers, higher math skilled trades probably weren't for me. Roofing was it." And here he is, a second year apprentice, and he's kicking butt. Um,
That's awesome.
that's cool. That's cool.
Very, very much so. Very, very much so.
Yeah, made me feel good. Made me feel really good. But ultimately,
Absolutely.
I may have shown him the stars, but he changed his own. Because you're a product of
Mhm.
all your own experiences and actions, and he put it in motion. I just showed him where he could go.
Now that's very, very true, and I think having someone like we were saying earlier, having someone that believes in you and is willing to give you the guidance, that makes a world of difference. That could change the trajectory of someone's entire life, but to your point, yes, people have to be w open to receive the information, and then, they're the ones that are really taking the steps. So I think that, yeah, I can imagine that that was very gratifying to hear him say that, and I can only imagine all the lives that have been changed through you all's program. So thank you so much for sharing everything that you do with us here today. I think this was phenomenal. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, great. It was an honor, as I said earlier, and thank you for having us. And, for anybody that's contemplating going into the trades, or any parent that wonders if their kid's going to measure up when they say, well, he's not a doctor, he's not a lawyer, he's a tradesman, believe me, there is so much honor in this. It's incredible. It's brother and sisterhood. The only thing I can compare it to is almost military service. Once you're in it, and you're in it for life, and that's how you identify. To this day, I have a lot of fancy titles, and if people ask me what I do, I say, I was a union electrician.